Welcome to Square One Games. My name is Exonovant, and this is my RTC rewind for Final Fantasy X HD Remaster. Guys, we're going to go back in time. We're going to talk about Final Fantasy X HD Remaster. We're going to talk about all the trophies, my experience with the game, and my experience as a guide maker, the routing process, the optimization process. You know, why did I decide to put certain trophies in a certain order, you know? Talk about all that stuff. This is something that you guys have been wanting to do for a very long time. It's my version of a review, but you guys know I don't like putting numbers on games. I don't like saying that a game is 8 out of 10 or any of that nonsense. I also don't like things like, should we buy it? Should we rent it? Should we, you know, I just like to talk about games, tell you what I thought. You guys can hit me up in the comment. Tell me what you think about this game, what you think about the trophies. But we're going to go through every single trophy. And I'm going to explain, like I said, why I decided to layer it in to the guide the way that I did, the routing, the optimization process, the whole thing. And this is going to be my review. It's going to be a trophy list review and a review of the game in my style. Okay, so you're probably wondering what this is. Patron supporters, they know exactly what this is. This is the RTC visual guide. This is my notes. If you ever decide to support me on Patreon, this is what you guys will get. Every single game that I cover, you get your own notes. Basically, think of it like, if you remember back in the day when you went to Funko Land or Babbage's or GameStop, you got your game, and then, you know, beside the game on the counter, they had a stack of strategy guides, and they were $20. And I got like, I have over 400 strategy guides in my collection. I didn't really use them all, but I love to collect them. And I said to myself when I started the new channel, I said, well, you know what? I want to make my own version of the strategy guides. Plus, I need my own notes. You know, you guys are constantly asking me things, you know, about a guide I made a year ago. I can't remember, but boom, I can just come here and go to my own notes and figure it out, right? But this is how I record games for you guys. I have 3 monitors, but I have 2. I have one that I play the game on, and then my right monitor has this on it. And I will just sit here and do whatever the picture tells me to do, you know? Okay, we're gonna have the original soundtrack, boom. Oh, we're gonna go over here and talk to these kids, you know, boom. So if you ever wonder how I'm able to play the game so fast, this is it. Because when you guys are watching these guides, they're in real time. I'm not making as many cuts as you think I am. I'm cutting out loading screens and you know, maybe speeding up dialogue and stuff, but the sequences are not edited. You know, it's one clip, and it's because I'm able to just flow through the guide like this. So a lot of my patrons use this stuff to trophy hunt with, and it's a great way to look up things. So just if you're wondering what the heck you're looking at, that's what it is. And I have an exclamation point assigned to all the trophies, so I can just scroll down and see the trophies in the order that we unlocked them. And that's what we're going to do in this video. We're going to rewind, go back to the very first trophy, which would have been the right thing, clear the Besaid Cloister of Trials. We're going to talk about these things one by one. There is a trophy that we could have picked up prior to this one. I think we actually got it on the second one. Yeah, Speaking in Tongues. There's a Albed primer on the, let's see if I can find it. It's back in episode 1. And it's been like 2 months or so since I played this game, guys. So if I don't get to this, there it goes right there. Right there is an Albed primer. And some of you, and I think I even put it in the commentary, I said, hey, there is an Albed primer back there, but just skip it. Because I knew if I didn't put it in the commentary, somebody would say, hey man, there's a primer and you missed it. So I have to make sure I cover that in the commentary. Yeah, you could have got the Speaking in Tongues trophy here. And it's not like it's going to ruin the run if you would have picked it up. But the reason why I decided against it is because there is this particular Albed primer will show up in the desert in Besaid if you miss it here. And I knew there was a bunch of other Albed primers in the desert. Plus, I knew that after we destroyed home, Riku's, you know, well, home, for lack of a better word, I knew that there was a few primers in that area that would be gone forever. So like we had to pick them up. They're missable. I said, you know what? It's just better if I just keep all the primers together, right? because I knew that if I said pick this primer up, there would be a player who wouldn't. There's always a player who, for whatever reason, maybe you're eating one night, watching the video, you know, you see me, you save and you get the 3 potions and you bend down, maybe you're scooping up some more food and you just don't see that part. You know, it happens. And I said, then it's going to be it's going to be a nightmare, right? So some people are going to miss it. Some people's going to get it. So let's just act like everybody's going to miss it. And we'll just put it all in the desert. It'll be easier that way. So that's why I decided not to put the Speaking in Tongues trophy here. But when I first started routing this guide, I had it here. Because again, I do like to put, when given an opportunity, I like to put the trophies as early into the guide as I can put them. For instance, take a game like Dark Souls, right? There's always that trophy for dying for the first time. So the second that I get a chance to die, falling off a cliff, first enemy, I just let them go ahead and kill me. Because again, I want my trophies, I want our trophies to pop in the same order, right? So if I know that advanced players are following my guide and beginner players are following my guide, then that death trophy in Dark Souls is going to pop randomly. You know, the advanced player may go the whole game, get to the final boss and die for the first time, you know, and then the beginner player might die on the first enemy because they're just new to the game. So I want it to all be the same. So advanced players, beginner players, we all die to the same enemy. We all get the trophy. And then we're all in step with the guide. But typically I wouldn't do something like this, but because I knew that primer would be somewhere else, it was a good call. Let's go back to the right thing. And then I knew this trophy would pop automatically. Obviously you've got your story related trophies, and I don't know how other guide makers do this, but with me, with story related trophies, I use these as routing checkpoints. You guys know games have checkpoints, right? I use the trophies as checkpoints. So I will route and optimize sequences between trophies. So I think of the trophies as like a sandwich and they're the bread. And the routing and the optimization is like the pickles and the onions and the burger and the meat, you know what I mean, in between. And just like with the burger, you know, sometimes the meat's on the bottom, then you got your cheese and then you got your tomatoes. But some people want the lettuce and then the tomatoes, and some want the onions, lettuce, and tomatoes, right? Some people like it in a different order. That's kind of how I look at it. It's a weird way, it's a weird analogy, I know, but that's how my brain works when it comes to routing. It's like building a sandwich. And some of you know who Gordon Ramsay is. If you've ever seen this dude layer a sandwich, it's just like, it's masterful. Like everybody's made a sandwich, but Gordon Ramsay makes a sandwich. And I look at my guides that way. I want my guides to be like the Gordon Ramsay of guides. You know what I mean? I want them to be layered really well and optimized. And so if I have a trophy like this, that's a story related trophy. And then, you know, maybe 3 chapters from now, there's another story related trophy. I tend to just think about the game that takes place in between both of those trophies as if that's the whole game, because this stuff can get really overwhelming very quick if you're just thinking about the whole game. I got to optimize this whole game, a 40-hour game, a 50-hour game. It's just too much for your brain to even fathom, right? To even handle. But if you're like, oh, you know what? It's just chapter by chapter. Especially with a game like Uncharted, a lot of times with those type of games, or even Call of Duty, there's a trophy for getting past every mission in the game or every chapter. Those are the best because it minimizes that optimization process, right? Okay, this is a 30-minute chapter, baby. You know, what can I do in this 30 minutes? And it's a little bit more, it's definitely easier to route those type of games. A game like this, not so much. But I knew this would be my first checkpoint. We're on slide 89. So I just had to make sure everything to this point was the way I wanted it. When I felt like that was good, I moved on. Okay, here we go. Here's the Speaking in Tongues trophy. This just felt right to me. You know, you have to be here. This is not off the beaten path. It's part of the story. You wake up, you're leaving the village, and the Owlbear primer is right there. You pick it up, you automatically get the trophy, and then you're out the door. No big deal. I thought that was perfect. the striker trophy. We had the save underneath down here. We got the save. I felt like this was weird, right? This was a weird one for me because when I played this game on the PS2 back in the day, this trophy was tough for me. I'll be honest with you, I didn't really understand it. I didn't really get it back then. Of course, I was new to the PlayStation 2. I had played a bunch of the Final Fantasy games, but this is the first Final Fantasy game I had played where like they're talking to you, you know, it's all crazy. I just felt, it felt completely fresh. And a mini game like this, just, I didn't get it. I read the tutorial, but your boy just could not process. And then every time I tried, I would fail. And I mean, eventually I got it, but like I said, I remember it being tough. So when I was writing the guide, I said, oh no, this event. But then I remember that the second time I played this game back in the day, I started doing what I do. Every time I play a game for the second time, I'm in it for blood. You know what I mean? I'm cold blooded when I play the second time because now I'm familiar with your game. Now I'm trying to destroy your game. And that's when I came up with the thumbstick or the D-pad method, where you just roll the thumbstick or the D-pad, you know, with your thumb and just tap the button, you know, and you're able to clear all those words that come up on the screen pretty fast, pretty easy. And so far, unless I missed the comment, sometimes YouTube doesn't deliver comments to me. So far, nobody has complained about that trophy, so I think I did a pretty good job of directing you guys. The reason why I say I was a little bit, I didn't really know if I wanted to put the trophy here or not, is because technically we don't need the eject shot until like the end of the game. I knew I wanted to save Blitzball for its own episode, you know, or at least put it inside of its own episode. I didn't want to do a little bit of Blitzball in episode 10 and then a little bit more in episode 13. I didn't want to do, I just want to slam it all in one episode. And then if people had questions, it's easier for me to reply to comments about a specific topic in one thread. Plus, when new viewers come through, they can see all the replies I've given to other people who's commented and maybe get their answer. So it's like, do I put this here? Because you can come back to this boat later, or this ship later, and get it. But I decided, you know what? If this is gonna be somebody's run killer, if this is gonna be something that people are gonna struggle with, then I want to put it as early into the guide as possible, because if they do decide to quit, I don't want to waste their time. You know, I don't want to make them play another 20 hours and then figure out this is a trophy I can't get. Very similar to when I covered Darksiders Genesis. If you guys have played that game or follow my guide, the Leviathan core trophy, which you can get fairly early on, there's 2 spots you can get it. You can get the second location. You can actually glitch to it, or at least at one point you could. I don't know if you can glitch to it now. But I know the quote unquote legit path requires you to jump on those platforms. And I could have had us play through the entire game, get all the cores, and then make that one the last one. But I said to myself, why would I want to do that, right? Somebody's going to invest 15, 20 hours into a game and then find out they can't get their platinum. So I'm going to put it at the very beginning, you know. I think it was in episode 2, I believe. And then if you can't get it, you can't get it. But I've only wasted a few hours of your time, you know. And I kind of felt the same way with this. And I knew we would need this later on anyway. So I said, you know what, let's just go ahead and get it. But I think it was a good call. You guys aren't complaining too much about that trophy, so that's good. Boom, slide 353 all together. Again, this is another checkpoint trophy for me. It is not difficult at all to get all the party members. It's part of the storyline. There's nothing crazy that you have to do. Some of these games you have to do some, you know, bunch of steps to get characters to join your party. But with this game, all of them are going to join. It's part of the story. So I never, when I was researching this game, I guess not really researching. I mean, I know this game really well, but typically before I start a guide, I will go through every trophy and just mentally kind of route it out in my head. I'll take a few notes. And this was one of those trophies that I just put to the side and said, I'm not even worried about this. It's just going to happen. No need to even think about it. Same way with the Buster of Trials trophy from earlier. Okay, Power Strike. I knew we would all get this. 9999 damage. Not hard to do in a game like this. It's just a question of when we would get it. And again, I like for our trophies to pop at the same time. I just finished covering Neo. You guys are, well, depending on when you watch this, that guide is going up now. And there's a lot of randomness to that game, so I couldn't really control when certain trophies popped. And I thought it was going to be the same way with Final Fantasy X because it's a freaking RPG, you know. it's all random. That's the name of the game. But I did want to optimize it and route it to the point where I could control as much of the RNG as I could. And I think I did a pretty good job of it. And I knew that by the time we got here, and this was a strategy that I knew about when I had this game on the PS2, this fight tends to be easier with only one party member. I feel like it gets too chaotic with 3. So I knew I wanted to try to do this fight with just Titus or Titus, or I call him Titus, guys. I knew we would have the strength to do it because we had been picking up some strength spheres along the way. And I knew that the only way we'd be able to do it is with his overdrive. And that's why I had to go back in and layer in. If you guys remember at the very beginning of the run, we were doing spiral cuts like crazy. I think you had to do them 10 times and then you had to do the other one so many times. I can't remember one spiral cut. I think it was just spiral cut. And then we kind of, yeah, because here, I think the overdrive we use here, yeah, is directly after spiral cut, I believe. But if you remember, that's what we did at the very beginning. We were hitting even the smallest enemy with spiral cut. And that's because you have to do the overdrive so many times before you can learn the next overdrive. And I knew we would need that here. Excuse me, guys. That is an alarm because in 10 minutes, the RTC tournament is going to be over and everybody's voting right now. So let me just turn off my alarms, guys. Like I said, this is a laid back podcast style video. We just hanging out. Yeah, they're gonna have the voting wrapped up in 10 minutes, so I just had an alarm set. So I knew this would be I knew this would happen because there's another trophy for getting 100,000 points of damage. So I knew we would get it, but I wanted to get it in this fight, and I was able to do that for you guys. Let's see, this is another checkpoint trophy, Heartstrings. If you do the underwater date scene, it's gonna happen. Not too worried about that one. Okay, here we go. Here's the nonsense right here, ladies and gentlemen. I've already gotten a lot of comments on these trophies. Chocobo license, Chocobo rider. Chocobo license. Pass all the Chocobo training. That's annoying, but doable. It's Chocobo rider. Win a race with the catcher Chocobo with the total time of 0. Now this, and I think I even said this in the commentary. If I didn't, I know I have been telling you guys in the comments, is that you can put off this event till a little bit later in the guide, but you can't put it off forever because we need the sigil, the sun sigil, plus we need go over here to the next one. Let's see, where's the next one at? Hopefully it doesn't send me back to the top. Yeah, it's gonna be here. Yeah, because we had to get Wings to Discovery, Pendulum, 3 stars. Now some of these you could do without, and I think I've given you guys that as personal strategies in the comments if you were having issues. Some of those items you can do without, but we do need most of them, especially the Wings to Discovery because of Riku's trio of 9s. So yes, you can put this off, but again, I wanted to slide it as early into the guide as I could, because if this was going to be the thing that killed your run, I didn't want to waste your time. I said, as soon as we get to the Comlands, as bad as it is, we got to do the Chocobo races. Trust me, guys, you're not the only one struggling with this. It's Final Fantasy games. I haven't played Final Fantasy 9 in a long time, but I know there's the mini game where you have to jump rope, and it's, from what I can tell, there's a trophy for that. I think somebody was telling me that, and I even researched it one time when I was going to cover it, thinking about covering it a while back. Stuff like that is annoying in a game like this. The time sensitive, not time sensitive, but the trophies that require you to be on a certain rhythm or pattern or do something almost perfect, which is what these freaking races are. Even if you know what's going on, the randomness kicks in and you're done. And you can be almost to the finish line and then boom, get hit by 6 birds and that's it. Game over. You know what I mean? You gotta try it again. What's crazy is that when I practiced this, it would take me 45 minutes, an hour, you know, to get this race down. And then when I actually recorded the run, and you can go back and look, there's no edits. I started a race and I got it on my very first attempt. And I could not produce that again now. I couldn't reproduce it, I should say. But I got lucky during the recording process. Got it on my first try. The temple wasn't so easy though. That took me some time. These first 2 races are not bad, you know, because you got to get 3 chests and 4 chests. But when you get to the 5 chests, man, and you gotta worry about the poles. And then even if you run this thing, what you feel like perfectly, right? That stupid other chocobo racer will cut in front of you at the very last second. You'll be jumping from the 5th chest to go down to the platform, and that joker just cuts you off every time. There's less than, 2 seconds here that you can mess up. Maybe not even that long. So this is really tough. But again, I wanted to get this stuff out of the way. I said, I'd rather have him not be able to do this now than do it 5 hours from now. So there you go. Let me get back. I hate the way Google Slides does that. You have to cycle back through all of them over again if you switch. Let's see, overcoming the past. Again, that was easy, especially because we farmed the fire gems. You guys remember periodically we would stop and farm fire gems. I think the first enemy that dropped them was in Comlands. Yeah, I think it was called the Fire Flan, I believe, or I think that's what the game called them. You know, the flan that looks like it's on fire. I don't know if it was called the Fire Flan, but I think you guys know what I'm talking about if you've seen it. If you see that enemy, you know what I'm talking about. That's where we got the fire gems from. And then you could also get them going up Mount Gagazet. You could pick some up. And they're just extremely OP with Riku, with the trio of 9s. I mean, he's unstoppable. Under the table, I knew that I didn't want this to pop randomly either. Once I routed in the ability for us to buy those Tetra shields back in Kilika, and then I think we applied HP plus 30 to them and then resold them back to the merchant for a bunch of money or a bunch of gil. I said, that's what we're going to do. Because I knew that I wanted to capture monsters as fast as possible. I wanted haste and all that good stuff on our characters. So all the fights were as fast as possible. But I also knew at this stage in the game, we were low on HP. We didn't really have much done with the sphere grid at this point, because that's part of the setup to get us to Don Tonberry. Because the lower your HP, the better off you do in that fight when you're farming experience. So all that had to be thought about well in advance. And I said to myself, well, shoot, what am I going to do when I capture monsters? It's like, oh, we got to get the petrify grenades from the basilisk. And to do that, I think we had to go to the Omega ruins too. And I forgot the name of that monster, but it was more than a one-step process. It's not like we just came here and started getting some petrify grenades. I think that was already, no, actually this is first. And then after this, we eventually go to, I can't remember. Oh, I think they're called Makia. Can't remember exactly where it is in the guide. You'll have to forgive me, but I know there was this, and then we went to the Mega ruin, and I think it's called a Makia. I think maybe it begins with an X. I can't remember. But anyway, we were able to capture one of those monsters and then go into the monster arena, and then bribe and farm some more stuff from him. I'll see it in a second in the guide, but apparently this was first. Yeah, because we just got the airship, unlocked all the locations. Yeah, that's right. We did this first. Maybe it was a lot of times when I route these guides, I get confused even with my own route, because I'm constantly evolving the route, deleting things, adding things. And so even as I'm going through it now, I'm thinking that that other monster that I was just telling you guys about was before this, but it's not. But in a previous version of the guide, it was. Under the table, spend 100,000. So I knew we'd have the, the cash here to do this with. And I knew that if we got the petrified grenades, we could throw that on Waka and Riku's weapon. And then they will be able to capture most of the enemies, because petrify doesn't work on all the enemies, but most of the enemies will be a one-hit kill. And even some of the stronger enemies. I didn't want you guys going into the fight and having to hit an enemy 4 or 5 times before they would die, and then taking damage, and then having the rest of the save sphere and all this crazy stuff. So I want to just walk in there and walk out. And so that's why the petrified grenades here became so important. And I also said to myself, if a player ever gets to a point where they need more gil, I need to have one spot where they can get it. I don't want to be checking treasure chests. We did check a few treasure chests along the way and got some gil, but I didn't want you guys farming for gil. See what I mean? I wanted you to just be able to get the gil quick. And so, and I do this with a lot of games, and I know you guys don't. Well, some of you like farming, some of you don't mind it, but farming is, for a guide, farming is just easier to optimize, because it's like, go here and farm for, experience, instead of trying to layer it into the guide, throughout the entire guide. Think about it like this. If we can get to one spot in a run and just farm all the experience we need for the rest of the game, that's easier to route and optimize, and it's easier for you to follow when you're watching the guide than for me to say, let's kill this enemy, let's kill this enemy, make sure you kill this enemy, make sure you open this chest. See all those little steps? Because if we've got a spot in mind where we can farm something, we can skip everything between where we are and where we're trying to get. We just skip it all the chests, all the enemies. And that's really what Final Fantasy came down to for the optimization was, and we just run from every fight. And that's what we did. I mean, if it wasn't a boss fight, we just, we used Tidus's flee ability. We were dipping out, right? But imagine if we'd had to fight all those fights because we needed money, or whatever. But nah, we just set it up in Kilika. That's free money forever. It's infinite money, infinite gil. And I knew that we would have money here. And then when it came time to get Yojimbo, which we're going to talk about later on, I knew you'd have the money. And if you didn't, you knew where to go get it. I could direct you there. And that saved us a ton of time, getting from the beginning of the game to where we are now, because we didn't have to fight anything, or just the bosses, I should say. Oh, here we go. Yeah, boom, right here. Yojimbo. It's all about the money, baby. I knew that this was not, it's not technically a checkpoint trophy, because you can skip this step if you're just playing the game for fun. It's not required to beat the game, but for us it is. So I considered it a checkpoint. So we had to have, what was it? 250,000 gil, I think, to get him. And then I knew he was going to play a major role in the monster arena and the boss fights, being able to just one hit kill people with the Zanmato. I knew that was going to play a huge role. And of course that takes money. So again, I wanted to have a spot where you guys could just get infinite money. Okay. Now, nobody has complained about this one yet, the Lightning Dancer trophy. You have to dodge 200 lightning strikes and get the reward. It's actually a bunch of rewards. It's all of these rewards, but the main one is the Venus Sigil. So when I played this game back in the day on the PS2, I found this trophy to be the worst. I didn't realize there was a way that you could manipulate the lightning strikes back then. I did get this trophy, but I did not get it the way that I showed you guys. Well, let me take that back. I did on my second playthrough because I figured it out. But on my first playthrough, I struggled, man. I remember me and my brother sitting in our room. I think it was his room at that time. We used to share a room, but I think by then, yeah, I was in his room. And we were playing. And man, oh my God. We said, this is impossible, bro. This can't be done. 200 lightning bolts. And I remember just sitting there and listening to, because if you listen to the sound effects while you're trying to do it, I had to do it on mute even when I recorded it for you guys. I couldn't play with any sound because there's like a ticking clock in the background. You know what I'm talking about? And then you got the lightning and the screens flashing. It became too much for me back in the day. And then my second playthrough, I figured it out. I was like, if I mute the TV, you know, then I don't have to listen to that ticking clock and music. It's just too much. Then I just focused on the lightning flashes. And then I finally figured out, oh, if you run to one of the lightning towers and then you stop the lightning, then the second you run away from one of them, then it comes back on a timer, right? I don't know if it works for all the lightning towers that way, but it does for the crater trick I showed you guys. And then there's another spot you can do it too that I didn't show in the video. This is how I ended up getting it the first time back in the day, because there's lightning towers, of course, all the way through this, all the way until you get to Macalania Woods. And I wasn't standing by a lightning tower. There's one close by, but there is a spot very similar to the crater trick where you can run from one part of the environment to the other and it will just spawn in a lightning bolt, but it's not near a tower. That's where I got mine from. And I thought about showing it in this run, but I like the camera angle better where I showed you guys in the guide. Plus your character model is bigger. The spot I'm talking about, like I said, you're crossing over into Macalania Woods and your character is super small, man. And to me, that's a little bit tougher to visualize. Your character's too small. So I got mine there back in the day. Well, not a trophy, but I dodged all the lightning bolts. And one of the trophies back then, baby. And got the Venus sigil, but I did it in a different spot. But I wanted to show you guys the other spot. But yeah, that's a tough trophy. But again, nobody's complained, so I guess I did a good job on that one too. Okay, here we go. Deal 99,999 damage in one attack. I knew by the time we got to this spot, we'd be doing some crazy damage. And I don't think anybody is doing a legit 100,000 points of damage. I think we're doing like 60 and 70K. But if you hit a critical attack, it's 99,999. And I knew that that'd be set up here. And I knew that the amount of times we had to attack this enemy, somebody was going to get a critical and you guys would get your trophy. And because we had to farm this Joker for 30 strength spheres, it was guaranteed. I wasn't worried about that one. This is actually a trophy that I thought about not putting in this fight, because you can actually learn the Nova ability with a different enemy. In other words, you come down into this dungeon, you get the primer and you do all the things we got to do. You don't actually have to fight this boss for a trophy per se. But I wanted to get these bad boys, the level 4 key spheres, all 6 of them. That's what I wanted from this fight. So I said, let's just add in the learning trophy here. That'll be Kamari's last ability. We'll get that trophy and get the level 4 key spheres. Again, I'm always trying to, it's optimizing. So you're trying to complete more than one step at a time. And when you can do that, it's optimized. Like I've just finished on Neo 2 and there's farming routes that we do. And yes, we're farming for Amrita, which is the way you level up in that game, your experience basically. But, you know, can I also, you know, layer in some gold farming? You know, we need gold at the blacksmith. Okay, so we're going to be getting a lot of gold and some equipment farming. Oh, a lot of equipment dropping from these enemies, you know, soul cores and all the stuff in that game that's required to get platinum. So I feel like if you're farming in that game just for one thing, like just for Amrita, then you're wasting your time. But if you're farming for 9 different things, that's pretty optimal. And so I decided to just shift this, because I knew that this enemy had the Nova ability. But if we had to go out and farm this ability from an enemy, then you got to walk around the map and hope you get a spawn from that enemy, right? I mean, I guess you could wait until you capture the monster and then get the ability from the monster arena. But again, it's just more optimal to get it here. The Destination of Hatred, again, it's a checkpoint trophy for me, story related. And by the time we got here, this fight's a cinch. This is a one-hit kill right here. I think we just went up there and hit him with Titus, if I remember correctly. And that was it. Level 3 key sphere, got 2 of those from here as well, so that's good. Sphere Master, okay. So this is easy. It just requires a lot of grinding. This was, what is it? Maybe like 2.5 hours per character, something like that. You know, it's an 8 to 10 hour deal. I thought about this too, man, before I started, because back in the day when I played this game, there was no expert sphere grid. It was just regular sphere grid. But something I thought about when I was routing it was, it's probably going to be easier to follow along with everybody's character with the regular sphere grid, but the expert sphere grid has less nodes, you know, less nodes to fill in. I think if you watch a lot of speedrunners, they're always going to be using the, well, maybe not always, but I think most of them use the regular sphere grid, because I think it might be faster to fill it in, because the animation that happens when you fill in a node, from what I understand, is shorter on the standard sphere grid. But it's just so much bigger and more complicated, especially because I knew we would need to steal a lot of items, so we would have them for Riku. So I wanted everybody to be able to steal. I knew the primary way we were going to get through these fights was to flee with Titus. But I said, if we have to do anything in a fight, I want to be able to steal, but I don't want to have to switch. Like if I start the fight off as Titus, Waka, and Riku, Titus goes first and Waka goes second. I don't want to have to triangle, you know, defend on 2 players to get to Riku, and then have her steal an item and then potentially miss. And then now we're back to Titus again and Waka, and you know, they got to defend. Meanwhile, we're getting hit. I didn't want that. I said, I want every character to know steal, every character to know use. And that way, when we go into a fight, there's no defending. We're just, everybody's stealing, so we can stockpile items a lot quicker. It's more optimal to do it that way. And with the standard sphere grid, that would have taken a lot longer to set up. So knowing that that was going to be the strategy that I wanted to use, I was kind of forced to use the expert sphere grid. But I'm glad I did, because it's just, trust me, if you've ever looked at them side by side, it's like night and day. And it's just so overwhelming. So I knew I wanted to go this route. It's just less to fill in, even if it might have been a little bit longer, because it takes longer to fill the nodes in. I think overall it was the best choice. So we get the Sphere Master trophy. That was for Yuna. That's who we used first. Then everybody else just kind of followed her lead, did their thing. And I think, oh yeah, that's right. So you could have gotten all the characters done here, which we did, but I purposefully left, I think, a few nodes empty on Titus's grid, I think. So that trophy popped for me later, but you guys could have got the other sphere trophy here as well. Blitzball, baby, teamwork. Win a blitzball match, very simple. Again, I thought about putting this into the story content and treating this like a checkpoint trophy, you know, because you have to play that blitzball match with Waka, and it's story related. You have to play it. The problem is, and if you guys go watch speedrunners, they'll tell you, even if you know exactly what you're doing for that match, for whatever reason, man, you can still lose. And what I didn't want to have happen is, okay guys, let's get the teamwork trophy here, win a blitzball match, and then some of you lose, and then you have to reload a save, and then it's another 5-10 minutes, 20 minutes, and you can spend 2 hours there. I didn't want to bog down the guide, especially that early on. Even though we had the jet shot, again, it's still possible to lose. So I said, you know what, let's just table the teamwork trophy until I can put all of Blitzball into one episode, and then they can just have at it. So I wasn't too worried about that one. Plus we got better players too. That's another thing. When you have that story related event, you're stuck with the players you get, but this late into the game, you can actually recruit players, which is what we did. And I knew it would be a whole lot easier for you guys to win a match. So that goes against my rule. Like I said, a lot of times I like to put these trophies as early into the guide as I can, but sometimes it's better to push them back. Okay, you know, win the Blitzball tournament, fair enough. And we had that trick we could use where we could keep rolling the correct prizes. You guys remember we would go and try to do a tournament. I think it was 3 or 4 times, and then every 4th time it would give you a different prize. We manipulated all that RNG to get the prize that we wanted. That was pretty cool. Blitzball Master, unlock all slot reels. That just came with the territory, you know. Now this is something that I thought about too. We could have got this a lot earlier, and then the RX reels are extremely, I think it's these, it might even be one of his other reels. I forget which one it is. It's the one where he spins around like a tornado and just throws a bunch of balls at the enemy. It's a bunch. It does crazy amounts of damage. But again, I didn't want to go that route with it. I wanted to wait and put all of Blitzball into one episode. And I knew that with Yojimbo in our back pocket, and Riku, we could get through all the fights. I wasn't too worried about that. So that's why I passed on that strategy, but that's extremely OP is, his reels. Let's see. Last primer, Master Linguist. Yep. And I wanted this to be the last primer. We could have picked this up earlier when we visited here, but I knew we'd have to come back and get some other trophies here. I definitely wanted to make this the last. Again, that comes down to the optimization process. This is why a lot of times you guys don't see a lot of backtracking in my guides. It's because it's optimized. So you guys aren't wasting time running around. Let's see here. This should be the next one. See, then you get Theater Enthusiast. I think that's the only 2. Yeah, you get both of those there at the same time. So that's optimal. Then we came back, got the Weapon Master trophy for getting all the celestial weapons. Yep. And then boom, Anima, Build a Pain, obtain Anima. That's another one of those. Again, I treated it like a checkpoint trophy, like a story related trophy, even though it's not required to beat the game. But for us, it's required for trophy hunters. Same thing, Delta Attack, Summon Master, obtain all the Aeons. Got that. Everybody's chiming in with the results of the tournament. Discord. Perfect Sphere Master. That's the one I was telling you guys about. I had, you could have got this trophy earlier, but I left, I think 2 nodes empty on purpose because I knew some people would miss some nodes. And then I wanted us to all be on the same page here. So basically you just finish filling out everything and get the Perfect Sphere Master trophy. Then I think we eventually broke down some nodes. Yeah, it's up here, slide 1644. We broke down the nodes and put in the luck nodes. This was something that took me forever to route. I didn't restart the game, but I had to restart this particular sequence a bunch because I could not beat Yojimbo. It's coming up later in the guide. I could not beat him. And because I would miss so often with my attacks, and it all come down to we just didn't have enough luck. And once we filled in all these nodes with luck, then we were able to beat him. But that took me a long time to figure out. Overcoming the Nemesis, defeat Nemesis. Again, very easy. Yojimbo, pay him 70,000 gil and cut this fool with the Zanmato right there. Very simple. It does require some loading and it can be time consuming because he doesn't always do the Zanmato, but when he does, you win. Messenger from the Past, obtain all Jet Spheres. Everybody's tripping out because the winner's been selected in the tournament. So I knew this was going to be the last sphere, and I knew we'd have to come back here anyway because of I think this is the point we fight start fighting the Dark Aeons. So I wanted to make this the last one because of that reason. I knew we'd have to be back here anyway, so that makes that optimal. Messenger from the Past. Perseverance, defeat Penance. Again, Yojimbo, baby. Some people call him Yojimbo. I've always called him Yojimbo. I don't know these names. But yeah, Zanmato, 70 large, easy fight. Otherwise, that fight is ridiculous. Let's see. Talent for acquisition, still successfully with Riku 200 times. This is one that I knew you probably, I mean, I guess maybe you would have this one if you kind of went off the beaten path a little bit. A lot of times you guys like to kind of do your own thing in my guides, kind of adapt it to your own play style. So I guess it would have been possible for you guys to get the trophy earlier, but I knew if you didn't have the trophy, this would be a prime spot to get it. Talent for acquisition. All you got to do is get in here and just keep farming these same enemies over and over and over again. The trickiest part about this trophy was that it had to be a successful steal, because you know when you steal, sometimes you don't get anything, and if you're not thinking correctly, you'd be like, oh, I've stole 200 times from these enemies, but if you're not actually stealing an item, then it's not quote unquote successful, and you'd have to start your count over, or get your count correct. I knew we could get that here. Easy, defeat you, Yevon. We're so leveled up here. It's a one-hit kill, no big deal. All the Aeons are easy. It's all one-hit kills. And then boom, now all you have to do is go back and watch the movie, and then that's a Journey's Catalyst, and then that is the platinum. So hopefully you guys enjoy this type of content. Again, I'm not trying to do too much with the visuals and graphics and all that kind of stuff, because I've already got these notes here. They're already ready to go. And you can kind of treat it like a podcast too. If I had a bunch of gameplay footage and stuff on the screen, you might feel like you need to watch the video, but this is something I want you guys to just be able to put in, car ride home from work. Maybe you had a big day, just throw it in, treat it like a podcast, just hang out. My overall thoughts about this game, this is probably one of my top 10 games of all time. It's weird to say because it's Final Fantasy X being one of my top 10 games. But again, you guys know I love games for different reasons. I don't love games because they got a good graphics or, good music. That's a part of it. But I tend to think about where I was in life when I played the game for the first time. This was the first game I played on the PlayStation 2. And it was magical, man. It was magical. I had played Final Fantasy 7, 8, and 9. I love 9. And then you go from 9 to this, the characters are talking, you're not just reading text. And it was crazy, dude. It was overwhelming and it's unforgettable, and even now, if you're curious to know what I think about the game in terms of the guide making process, loved it. There's some guides that, believe it or not, I don't like. Like, I'll make them and they're good and you guys follow them and you get your platinum, but that doesn't mean that it was fun. This was fun. I enjoyed every day I got up and worked my 10 hours a day, or sometimes if you look at the tracker, some days I put in 16 hours. Because it's just one of those things you don't want to put down. And I would go to bed and wake up the next day just itching to get back in it. You know what I mean? So I loved it. I loved the entire process, the guide making. I love the game. I love the colors, man. There's so many games we play these days with that nasty brown color palette. You know what I mean? The purples and the yellows and it's beautiful. I love this game. I'm so happy they did a remaster for it. I was, of course, loving the old game, but when they did the remaster, I knew I'd have to play it. And then you guys patrons actually voted this one through in the first tournament that we had and gave me my wish to cover it on the channel. I think I put in my 2,000 subscriber Q&A that I wanted to cover this, down the line, and I had already started it, and then they gave me my wish. So it was great. I thoroughly enjoyed this game. Again, I don't put numbers on games. It was just a fun experience, fun to route, fun to optimize. And I hope you guys really enjoyed it. So let me know what you thought about Final Fantasy X, what you think about RTC Rewind. I love you guys. Thanks for all the support. See you in the next one. Be good.